Hello, happy people. My name is JSong. Everything in today's video is never financial, investment, or trade advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast. Trading in the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. All right, let's start. In October 2006, for the past few years, we've been primarily pointing at three different locations for the past many months. And the places that are in play, price was coming to a very large bottom with small local healths entering into this crypto. It lets us know primarily when the market is going to reverse. It lets us know, from October 18th, it lets us know when the game is starting to change and very important changes that happen in the game. For example, when price builds below the 4% range, then a weakness happens in the market. And when prices were to start building above this type of downward foundational area, that's a very important thing. Until then, these are the very important areas we need to focus on for USDT.D. And this is a very simplistic look from October 18th of the larger story. And there are lots of things that are happening in the market, but primarily the game has changed since earlier in the year in October. In October, we had our first break above that parabolic into the health. And from those days, we had started discussing the very movement of USDT.D in an upward direction. In upward markets, this is about the only chart you guys needed to know. Here's another look back from November 15th of this year. But there's been many discussions we've had about this chart for such a long time that once we got above that parabolic, we're really in these upper ranges, and we need to be focusing on the larger foundational areas as the main target. In upward markets of the USDT.D, it acts a lot like poker chip. If you guys are new to USDT.D, it represents the stable coins, and they act like poker chips. You can imagine that if everyone's holding on to their poker chips, they're not at the tables playing their games, so there's not enough activity in the games. But when they're spending their poker chips, the money is flowing. The money is like liquidity, like water, and people start seeing the markets go up because people are participating in the markets. Just like the economy of the US dollar as a whole would collapse and halt if we all put our money under a mattress, because we're now out spending the money. In a recession, people are more concerned with the economy, so they're more hoarding their wealth. They're not spending the money, so it doesn't flow as much, less jobs created, less money spent, less income for others and other businesses. So that's the basics of a natural economy. You want to have money flowing like water. And so in USDT.D, when it goes up, it is being more dominant. The USDT.D is a representation of Tether, which is the stablecoin that holds about 90+% of all the stablecoins in the market, which means all cryptos that are traded, almost all cryptos are exchanged from a position of cash, and the position that they primarily use is Tether. And when you see money coming into Tether, it tells you, hey, they're exiting the market. And when you see money exiting the Tether, you can see, hey, they're participating in the market. And even though it's not an exact representation of Tether itself, it's a representation of Tether's dominance in the entire market. And so that's why we read the USDT.D. When this market is coming down, your cryptos are going up. And when this market is going up, your cryptos are going down. So we're able to track a lot of important information. We can see when the health is starting to come in to these cryptos. We can see what territory we're supposed to be. If it's a delayed territory, we're expecting up and down type movements. If there's a little green dots and prices breaking into those territories, we're starting to see signs that everything is pointing towards upwards direction. And so this is the chart we've been measuring for the last many years, as you guys all know in our community. We're pretty good at reading this chart. We got a good readout, and I want you guys to know about a lot of what's really happening in this market. A lot of this market is telling us signs that we should be going up in these directions, and so we have. And we did some big important targets that we placed because none of the lower 4.17 numbers have started to activate down to our larger targets to the bottom, which means this is not a bullish season. Only the signs of health are coming into this market, so we only want to be looking to short cryptos. You guys know that several weeks ago I got out at big parts of the top of the market, and I want you guys to remember during the times when there's important changes to this chart, you guys can take action to protect and preserve your capital, and other things you can do, as people have often prophetically seen and told me from time to time they saw our community shorting and making the money going down. One of the first dreams I ever had was people swimming and coming to me for information after a big crash that was happening. And I believe that many of those events have started to play out over the years, and there's still more to come when it comes to crash in the future. Although I believe that the big event, the specific one from the dream, has not just happened just yet, but I believe it's on its way. I do believe that certain things like XRP is going to do well, but right now I don't believe these are the seasons for that. I believe right now these are the seasons to take advantage of the market and what's happening with the markets as a whole. Now, there are some very big important points on our charts that we've had over the years we need to focus, because that's going to be our real important areas, and that's our 5.57 and our much higher numbers. And I'm going to pull those up on the chart, primarily the ones from October and November. So we're gonna be covering this reversal point. Let me get my chart with our big target on here. Cut. In November 15th, you guys remember there was two big targets that we had, 6.05 and 6.72. We've actually had these a little bit sooner because these are the resistance areas. We hit our 5.74 number quite nicely, but there's more to happen into the market, and these are the big reversal areas. You guys need to know, because we're gonna talk about them today, because we are there now. So in addition to us changing the game back in October and looking to start moving up, we are almost complete with this up move, which means we're going to start looking for the reversal to begin to happen soon. And here is our 6.74 number. This is just another screenshot from an earlier chart, November 15th. Here's November 5th. Nope, that one's part of that, but... And then this one right here, okay? This one's going to be part of our larger chart back in October 18th, where we were showing you guys the foundational area. And any of those videos you guys can pull up. We have four market reports that I want you to watch later on. I'll show you them again. These are going to be these reports from October and November. If you have not watched my reports, they're going to give you a full in-depth analysis of the USDT.D situation. They're available in our notes section today, and they are available in our notes section last week, and they've been on YouTube. So these are the public reports from on October and November, all about our prediction for what we're talking about. So you guys understand, if the content helps you, thank you guys for supporting our ministry. Thanks for joining up for our chart room. Without further ado, let's talk about this so you understand how important these events are of this foundational area. Now, USDT.D on our chart, this is a daily chart view. We are looking at our foundational area. So this is all the way back from June of 2022, October of 2022, June of 2023, September of 2023. Years in the making. This foundational area. There's a core area, which is a more meaty part, and there's the wick match area, which is also just as valid, and it's going to be matching a few of these wicks here. So it's about right there, and I'm going to give you the exact numbers. We can calculate those numbers every day. So now, since October's days when we first saw the health, we're basically done. Almost there. We're almost there, unless the game changes again. And that's going to be the next signal. It's this one. So these are all the same targets that we've had and known about for quite some time. After our 5.7, this is the more range where we're more expected to get to. 6.5 and 6.74. Exactly, to the T. Current price yesterday, 6.74. Okay, there it is. See? So you guys know I'm not making this up. Okay, you guys can go watch my videos. You'll see this white border. I don't offer trading signals. I offer trading maps, which let us know primarily where we're getting to. And you guys can watch my videos and you'll see me that when I place these borders here, those are more of my general major predictions depending on the territory. So if we're in a territory that's the upward territory, that means there. If we're in a downward territory that's there, that means there. These are still places I see. I saw this one in a vision and a dream. So this one's on the table, but not on the board right now. It doesn't trigger as we're not in those weakness areas as we've talked about for quite a while. And we're not going to see that for at least this angle here, because that's where the larger angle will come in. It's this one. Okay, so that one's still not on the board. It just continues to move to the right. If it was at the time back in November, earlier November, it would have been that price, but this is a dynamic number price. The angle is going up, so it's a dynamic negative. So if it moves in sometime in January, that number's 4.4. So I don't expect that to be in play anytime soon unless we experience a strong reversal at these areas in the sky, which we're calculating for. So now that these are on, the next target for us is closer to 8.07, 7.79. We saw Bitcoin, it hit almost, I think yesterday it may have hit our 80,000 number, or closer to it. There's two numbers that we had for the lower side back when Bitcoin was in the hundreds, and that was going to be 99,000 and the other is 80,000. We'll pull up that chart in just a moment. But I think all of those numbers are hit as well, so we don't really need to go any further into those. And now is not the time to try to short Bitcoin unless we have another set of weaknesses. Once you're done at your target, you're there. When we were at 106, that was our time to short Bitcoin when we first saw the weaknesses. Not now. We can be chasing cryptos and shorting just as much as chasing candles and shorting just as well as we chase candles in the markets. You guys got to be careful of chasing candles. Don't be candle chasers. Learn to read what's happening with your map, with your own cryptos, structures that are based on its own price. So we got a chance to predict a lot of this stuff. It's all happened. So we got our nice bounce. Let's fade that away. That's all done. We got our nice upward movement. That one's all done. That was back on November 11th. All right. So now here we are, and we hit not just the upper angle at the core, but we have room to hit the 4.79. So things, well, technically give or take a hair, that one's already hit. So this is our range that's been hit. The larger range in its entirety is already basically now complete. So thank you guys for joining us for the past few months. If you guys are new to our community, we love to see these things play out. So now let's fade away some of these, and we're going to be getting ready in anticipation for our next big movements. So let's simplify some things for us so we understand if things are going to get worse or things will get better. With a higher probability of certainty, we can make those predictions. Okay, so here's our original parabolic. Let's continue reading. November 17th, USDT continues to rise as expected towards our November target of 6.72, 6.05. However, structures indicate closes above this area indicates move towards 8.05 and 7.79. So closer now, our 7 number, which we do have some prophetic information from our community and others, primarily Triple J. She's seen that number 7 in our community, and it matches up our chart. And I pay attention a lot when her numbers match up with our map. It's a little bit of a confidence because it tells us that may be the season for the time that those things most likely happen. Our prophetic numbers at 9 area, which match a 9.05 area on our chart also, and that's going to be closer to our higher numbers. We have Christian in our community, had some information and some prophetic. He says, I was looking at a chart in a dream and suddenly I saw a green candle and the price quickly started to rise and I saw 9+ digits. At first I thought this is XRP or Bitcoin, but it didn't make sense because Bitcoin is already at 9,000 range as of November 17th, 90,000 range, and the graph had a bigger rise. When I looked up closely, I realized the price was for a percentage of USDT.D spiking up. Blessings, everyone. 9+ additional. So 9, he saw it was this one, the percentage rise for USDT.D. Now 9% is going to be somewhere now here in the sky. Now I don't know if I'm going to put that prediction yet on the board because for me, I just have the map area, but I won't put this big white border for us right now because I don't know, we don't have the next health. Here, I'll let you know in just a few moments what we're looking for to trigger that. But right now, that's possibly on the board soon. All right, so all of these currently, I'm not placing my white target there as it's not in play currently. Okay, right there. I am looking for a reversal of the 6.11 area, which is this target here, the 6.5, 6.74, but not holding my breath. It is possible we'll see more bullish move on this chart. And continues to be lowered crypto prices. So a bullish move. Remember, when this goes up, your cryptos are coming down. Stay tuned. Until then, we're going to look for more. So it's here where we start looking for these new events to start playing out. And that's going to be here. So can we experience a reversal here? A reversal here will look like some bullish movements on this chart. So we're going to need to more examine what that will look like. So let's finish this up and we'll move these off to the side. I'll fade this actually away since most of that is all done. So this is our old analysis. And let's give you just a quick update. So for this to start triggering these 7 and 9 events rather than a reversal at this area, we want to have closes above these numbers, 6.7 and 6.7, 7.9, this general area. This is the area. We don't trade exact numbers because we have room for error. But for the most part, what we need is some closes above here, and then we can start building above there. I don't have a close there. So at the moment, we're only looking for reversals here, and that means that's just profit taking. Now, in a bearish market, I'm only taking shorts. So after October, especially when we got those closes after October 15th, the only thing I've been doing is shorting the markets. I'm not looking to buy the dip, as people say. It's very popular to say, especially on YouTube, especially if you guys follow a lot of people on YouTube. That's not how I like to trade. I don't even use that word. I like to know we really are dipping before I buy that. I like to see that when there's evidence for a structural reversal. If there's evidence for a structural reversal, then I have a chance. If there's evidence for structural continuation, I'm going to be looking to continue in the positions I am. Right now, again, in this territory, I'm only allowed, based on the method, I'm only allowed to take bearish trades because this is going up and cryptos are coming down. So I'm only allowed to short cryptos during this season. That's going to keep me out of harm's way and position me more structurally for profit, as I'll let you guys know publicly about a coin short, about H-bar short, and there's other shorting opportunities that have presented themselves, I believe, such as on Luna Classic. That was over the last few weeks. For the last few months, we've been talking about shorting Luna Classic since the weakness came in, and Gala and a few others. But there are places where they may reverse, and those are the places we got to be careful. So here's where we may reverse in this season, and it's now going to be here. So this is the next place you guys need to see. This is very possible we may reverse here and the markets may start becoming bullish again. Now there's small things we can do in anticipation for that to try to examine, is this really going to be the case? We can look at volume. We can look at some of the reversal indicators such as the RSI. We can look to see if the RSI is triggering a new price base. Now, I don't have a new low, so I'm not going to be using RSI price base to let us know for a big reversal. We can look for RSI pullbacks. And those are going to be some things we're going to be looking at. Let's see. Our next RSI momentum has not changed just yet, and it probably won't change until closer to January, maybe or earlier in December. And then as far as pullbacks go, it's not a very strong pullback. We're still all in the same area on the daily chart. Let's pull up weekly chart. And the same. So not a very strong pullback here. There is strong pullbacks back to these old areas, but most of those moves are exhausted. So these moves already came down. So I'm not going to put a lot of weight on RSI pullback in this example. All right, and that's for a tutorial for another day. But all right, let's go back to what we're looking for. Sunday night, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 1 day and 10 hours. If you get a close above 6.79, that's going to be the highest the wick match. That's primarily where I'm looking at. You're more looking for more signs to get to the 7.79 and the possible 9 number. Now, where does that number come from and where is it part of? It's part of a DP. Now, I'm going to, in a nutshell, give it to you on this chart because I got a lot of stuff going on this chart, so it's hard to show you. So let me see if I can do this real quickly. But it's basically a parabolic that looks like this. I did it in purple on my chart, so later on when I pull back on the lines, you'll see, and I hope this helps you. But it's basically a parabolic that was shaped like this, And when we put the parabolic, we bounce it. And all we're doing is calculating for the oscillation. When we have that duplicate, or when we have that calculation, especially if we have some verifications, if I place it here and I start verifying by hitting that number here, especially the more exact I am, but once I calculate for that oscillation, all we do is duplicate the oscillation and move it straight to the top. Okay, and we can measure that in a very accurate way by taking a measurement line and drawing it to the bottom, and then we duplicate it and move it straight up in the air. With parabolics, they have to be straight up. Then you would take your original key angle, you duplicate your key angle, and you click it in place. These lines on the side have to be lined up. We have a specific lesson for this. It's called a DP. And then it lets us know now where in time and in price we're looking to get to. So if price goes up, we can understand that this number is going down each week. So there's a specific number we're looking at today that's going to keep falling and let us know. So we'll look at that number in just a moment, but that number is closer around to the 8 numbers of our chart. But that's basically the calculation that I'm looking at. So here, the exact calculation for the lowest energy center in this area without a verification. That means I don't have other areas on the bottom to verify, which I love to have. In this case, I don't, but it is in the sky. The number is 8.24. So this is part of a calculation I'm going to look for. Now, another area I'm looking for is this big blue multi-touch flat. And that's not just because I'm looking at this downward curve based on this area. That's important. But I'm also looking at the meaty parts of this area. You can see how many times I've hit this area and how important. Even when I built above here just a little bit, it was still trying to catch above this blue flat. So this is what we call a multi-touch flat. Now, of that multi-touch flat, we have another place that's important, and that's going to be the wick match. These wicks match along the angle. When I have an important angle, what I like to do is I like to check to see if the wicks match. If they match, I call that wick match, and we also pay attention to those areas. So these areas now stretch out, and they're going to reveal to us where these overlap. Now, where these overlap, it becomes important. So if I wanted to, I could simply draw where I'm expecting, like this. You can then see this in the sky, 8.75, 8.19 approximately. And now these areas seem to match and they start to overlap each other, don't they? So what happens is they cause what we call a vortex. A vortex is where multiple areas, other teachers would call this a confluence of influence, but they all seem together in this area. So once I get this to trigger, you can know that I'm going to put this in the sky. That's going to be the area we're going to block out. And that's going to be the area that's going to be very critical for our next target. Now, of target system, we have a special target system. On the monthly charts, I'm looking at 4.8.05, 7.79. So those are given, just like our other targets. And our target systems are very accurate depending on territory. But now you also need to understand, of targets, we don't just go to targets, we spike into areas. I'm going to be looking to come to these areas. And if things go really high, we're going to be looking to get to those 9% numbers. So if I bring this down closer to where the multi-touch flat is, you can see that they overlap more 865 and a little bit lower. So as time goes on, we have until here's April of 2026 to hit those. Sometimes USDT.D moves fast, sometimes it moves slow, but these are going to be areas I'm going to expect. And if I get here sooner rather than later, and what that means is if I were to go there like tomorrow, then what would happen is the market would be a very big crash in the market. Everybody would be like, the markets are falling. And then what would happen most likely is we would spike into this area with a very high degree of certainty because we're so close to that. Many times over the years, when I've seen our important resistances hit, if there's another resistance, you'll spike into those areas. Almost always, you easily spike into those areas and then it comes back down to the more meat part of the area. If it's done at a later time in the year, such as here's May and June, then usually you have to deal with these as two separate events, and which is great because you can have two separate types of shorts. But when we are at a vortex, we look for a reversal with a more strong degree of confidence. And when there are two separate events, we have to have other pieces of evidence on why we would hit both sides of those lines. So as it is right now, you can see that this would be more of a vortex if it happens now in these seasons. So this is all what you really need to pay attention to. If you know what's happening in this chart, you got the bulk of what's happening in the market. So I'm going to leave these and I'll upload this video as some examples, but this one will be in play very soon. It's not in play just yet. Let me fade away some of these so I can clean up this map. I will put an arrow here so you guys can understand what it is we're going to be expecting when it's time. 6.71, 6.79 is a more of a full confirmation for that. The meaty part of the core is already at 6.67, somewhere around there, near our target that was just hit. That's what we're going to be looking for. Otherwise, we're going to be looking for the reversal. These are the two health and weakness. So in summary, today is decision time. All of our numbers are hit. So therefore, the next target is possibly coming in the future. Let's add that today for our notes. November 22nd, 2022, 2025. This crypto reveals most of everything we need to know about what is happening and what will happen in the crypto market, as we have experienced over the years. 6.79 and 6.67 have been hit from our foundational downline, which back then I didn't do wick match, and back in October I didn't do wick match for this line. I only did the 6.67. And reports from Q1 October and Q1 October, I should say Q1 report 1 through 4. You guys can watch those so you get a good understanding how to recreate these maps, because they are still in play even though the target's hit. These reports are still in play, and if you guys don't have them, take a screenshot now and just copy and paste those. Otherwise, you can see them in our dive notes, or they're public on YouTube. Okay, they're still there from October and November. Okay,
you just bring it down a wee touch.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
We're about to do our chart room, but I love to publicly tell everybody in like the world what's really happening with the game to keep you out of trouble and to give you peace during times of famine or times of negativity. I can't predict if we're going to be going all the way there in one move, or if it's another time, or if it's not at all. All I can tell you is this is the time to take decisions. Now that's important for you shorters in the market, because people who are shorting, this is possibly a time you want to take profit when we hit that number, which was just yesterday. Okay, so this is where we start looking at, should I start reversing some of my positions? Possibly. I would not reverse personally, because I don't have the next health. For me to trade the next health, I need it to be underneath this white line, as I let you guys know. I need to be there before I even get a chance to start, before I start taking any shorts. So I'll make sure you guys can remember that. That number for me, if it's next week, 5.66. If I'm building under 5.66, after coming up from this top, I'll start looking at that. And we're going to examine some of the volume to give me a good idea. Just one more moment, okay? But these are from those reports, publicly available, okay? And if you're not paying attention to anything I do, pay attention to those reports, because they're really the only thing you need to know, okay? If the market's generally bearish, which I told everybody Bitcoin and XRP are back in October, then that's really the big stuff, the Ethereum kind of things. You guys can get the bulk of it from there. All right, but now let's finish about this USDT.D. This is all to give you peace so you don't panic. You can say, JSong, you're just tooting your own horn. Okay, even if I am tooting my own horn, I hope you can hear the horn blaring, because I talk about many cryptos every single session in our chart room. That's our website. If you guys are still watching this video, that's the website. Take a screenshot. Join up for our dive. You'll get the Zoom links every single meeting. About 5-10 minutes, Melody sends up the meeting link, and we get to these cryptos. Okay, and then you can understand more of these in context. So of those reports available, these numbers hit yesterday are important because this is the next decision area. If price breaks above, it increases the statistical likelihood that 8% area, I would say 8% area, will be hit. If 8% is hit this week, it is probable, highly probable, that 9%, 9.5, will be hit due to proximity. That means how close these are together. So if it goes up right now, it's very likely you're going to get a spike there. Okay. These are on the map, but not active on the board until that close. All right. So that's basically what you need to understand. I only have one more thing to report to you about this chart. I'm going to look at it just right now. We're going to look at the volume, and then I'm going to let you know the likelihood we're breaking to the top side. Okay. So 4.8 on the map. These on the map, not on the board. They're not active. We didn't trigger down here, and we are not going to trigger those until now this board. So back then they were very in much proximity to each other. When we get closes below here, we can spike to that blue flat, but you can see they're working together. Later on, they're going to work with two separate events, and they're more easy to manipulate in the future. None of these are active on the board, which means the market is not in those bullish areas. So if there's bullish areas right now, you're only trying to catch a falling knife. That's a dangerous thing. I'm not waiting for that until I have signs that I am indeed reversing. So therefore, I'm not taking any bullish trades, even if we are at a bottom. I need that market to prove to me that we're there. We can stretch this out if we wanted to. You can put this on your 2 or 3 day chart, I believe it is. You can stretch this white line out, draw it on your map, and then you can start taking your trades from there. But all of that is just all of underneath here. Okay? So it has not triggered. So therefore, we cannot take any bearish trades. We can continue the same and phase into that weakness and then possibly reverse. But right now, it's very likely we're going to possibly even break above these areas. So let's look at the volume right now so we can make a more appropriate decision about what's going on. Okay, so take a screenshot of that chart. That's going to be one of my important charts. You need to take a screenshot of this one. Important map points. Very important map points. And then I'm also going to make sure that these numbers go to the left side. I know I'm taking a little bit of time, but again, if you got this chart, you got everything. Okay, that one. There has the numbers for you. Yep. Okay, all right. Let's pull up Bitcoin. You guys ready? Any other questions, comments regarding my talk, my previous USDT report? It'll be online. Okay, quarter 1, 2, 3, or 4. Today's report 5. All right, let's move on. All right. Our next section brings us back to Bitcoin. There was 2 important targets that we have. One that's on this image here, and that's going to be our 90,000 Bitcoin area. You can see that we have a larger collection of vortexes in this area. And this tells us an important thing, that when weakness came into this market, this was a chart from November 5th, it looks like. that when we're coming into these areas, we're more likely to experience a sharp move down to 90, which already happened. After that, if price does not bounce, but rather continues to fade into weakness, which it does, it puts us more stress on our next target, which is down here in our lower area. So you guys know that we've talked a lot about that from our 90, and the other area is 80,000 Bitcoin. So all of our previous reports indicate and tell us that we're looking at 90 and we're looking at 80,000, and we did a volume analysis showing us we're more likely to break to the downside based on these things. All of that leading to telling us there's a strong weakness that is appearing. And now you can see how it works. We entered weakness territory, so that's going to be our original signs of weakness. So it's here where we start looking, hey, we're going to be going down. Now, I already gave you guys the big volume take, and that's why I did a public report. I let you guys know, hey, the supply is not being removed at the challenge areas in these areas. We are not removing the supply. So it makes a case that we're more likely to break down rather than up. But you guys all remember that because you were here in my reports in October. So this is why I'm expecting a bearish market. Now, if all I had was USDT.D, praise God, maybe I got a good statistical edge. But another edge we can have is just using Bitcoin. And why Bitcoin? Bitcoin takes the biggest portion of the crypto world. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, what I have before you is a crypto market heat map. Okay, this is a heat map. You guys can find these online. Just type in heat map, and you can see this basically represents the huge crypto world. You can see how big USDT is, how big USTC, how much they account for the entire market. This carries about 6.3% of the market. This carries 2.5% of the market. Bitcoin carries a hefty 58% of the market. That means that Bitcoin is basically almost the market. It carries the winning majority share. What happens in Bitcoin affects the rest of the market. If it's primarily trending down, people think it is a reflection of the market. Now if this is trending up, this will be a reflection of the market. So these are going to be an important type of thing. Now you guys can type in heat map and you'll see that. But that's how you can take a moment at a glance to see how much is what. So again, USDT carrying the biggest weight of the stable coins, USDC, and maybe other stable coins, where all your little cryptos are a little drop in the bucket compared to everything that's happening in the crypto world, okay? Sometimes we think our crypto is so important. Here's H-bar, very strong when we've been shorting, moving into weakness territories. All right, let's go to Bitcoin again. So if we understand that Bitcoin's entering weaknesses or major weaknesses, or we're starting to fail under important lines that have been established for some time, if we're starting to slow down in these areas, we're more likely to come to our next supports. If those supports are broken and we don't, this should be here. If those supports are broken and we don't bounce when we're supposed to, remember from lesson number 1, what happens in the market is just as important as what doesn't happen in the market. So our next target here on this chart, 80,000, 75,000, we hit our 80,000 number when? Yesterday. Okay, so our $80,000 number we just hit yesterday. So that's why I really love our system, sword method, our targets. I hope these charts have blessed you guys and you guys are blessed by them. We also understand that Thundercut's coming closer to 77 and 71,000. 71 being the liberal side from the top, and conservatively 77. Conservatively 80,000 and conservatively 75,000. So all of these are hit. Now this is just one map. I have another map for you guys. 80. So here's our 80K to 75K. Do you guys know we need to understand we are there? So this is a weakness area. Now, if I'm tracking and I say, okay, guys, is it time to buy Bitcoin today? I'm not allowed to trade Bitcoin based on the art that I'm using of the map creations and a basic trading system is to wait until health appears based on the foundational areas. Here's your foundational area. 1, 2, 3. Draw these. We're going to connect all the dots without crossing through the meaty cores of this chart. And this is I can do this on a daily chart. So that means that if Bitcoin goes up today, I don't want to chase the candle. Because at approximately this price tomorrow, 101,000, we can immediately come right back down, from that area, unless I was short-term trading only. If I'm intraday trading, and even then, I only like to trace short moves in an uptrend. I showed you guys this on a 1 hour chart on Wednesday. I said you guys can go all the way down to 1 hour and take a look at some of your cryptos that are in bearish positions, hunt the up move. Every time there's an up move, cut it. When you can cut it, you're more likely to go down. If you have other reasons to trade at that cut, praise God. But that's going to keep you out of trouble. You're going to be right more than you're wrong, because none of y'all can force the market to do anything. So you need to be careful. All right. So this is how that might work. We may see rejection or reversals over the next few days, but it doesn't mean the game has changed. Okay? It does not mean the game has changed. The game will change for us next above this line. Then we have a chance to start going up and taking real bullish trades. If we're trading and buying at this bottom, we're really trying to catch a falling knife. You need another reason to trade if you're going to do so. I'll show you an example quickly. I'm going to go to all the way down to a cut it in half, 12, 6, and 3 until we can find another structure. And already I found one. All right, here's 12, here's 6. And I'm going to draw it for you, okay? So here's a 6 hour. First, I'll draw it with a crayon, and then we're going to do it together. Here's what I'm going to draw. Of this target, we have a lot of room to trade here, but there's other resistances along the way, such as the parabolic that is forming from these 3 areas. Got it? This parabolic gives me some resistance where it levels out. And it levels out here. That means if there is a reversal here, I can only trade it up to about right there before I'm in danger of Bitcoin going back down again. I may not get all the way this far. I could spike there too, but it means this is all danger. So right now, at the very least, after I hit my target, I'm taking profit, or at least some profit. Okay, and there's another one that can be going down to even a 1 hour chart, but this is a 6 hour chart. If you wanted to use this week, you can use it. If there is a reversal and tomorrow you say, look, JSong was wrong, Bitcoin's going up. No, the game has not changed. Wait till the game changes, then you can say I'm wrong. Okay, or your map is wrong, but your map is right. The foundational areas are the foundational areas, and even if you get above there, they often tell you that the crypto is strong, so you don't have to worry about being right or wrong. Just understand what territory you're in. Okay, at any rate, when you see these kinds of things happening before your eyes and you have multiple reasons to make a case for why you're trading the way you're trading, you can take a small bullish trade and get out. That's for those of you guys who are risky. Me personally, I never take bullish trades in there. I would only use this area to look to get to my next short. So if I get that, I'm going to be shorting Bitcoin again, and the number is, you're saying, JSong, what's the number then? I'll tell you. The number is 92,000, approximately. So I'll write that down. You guys can have fun with that later if you want to. But 92K would be a very important place and possibly where I want to short again and continue the downtrend. If I have evidence that I'm going to be breaking this, which I don't have at the moment, then I'll take a short down to the next low of Bitcoin. All right, JSong, if you're thinking Bitcoin might go down, then how far are we going? Because we already came to your $80,000 target. Okay. Again, right now it's not on the board. I'm going to do something like that and show you that 90 number, and it'll get you a more exact. Here's the parabolic. Again, it levels off somewhere approximately here. I'll make this white. I'll make this dotted. I'm going to shorten these up. The 101 max. 90,000 to around 89. So somewhere around here is the average, 90,000. And that can be more of a likelihood. Now let's look at the volume, and then before we talk about any lower targets, we have high volume on the up bar and down bar pair. This is more like a railroad track. That's a nice reversal type of indicator for a short-term bounce. Okay. Longer term, we're going to need to compare it to other areas in the area. We don't know about that yet, but if I go up on low volume, that means lack of interest. I'm going to be looking to short this. So right now, as it's looking, we may have a reversal for this week. So USDT.D at the top, possibly going to reverse short term. Short term only until we can get some real good information. Short term only. Remember, we need another indication that we're in the next territory. So right now I'm only looking for a slight reversal. Here, Bitcoin's probably going to give us a good reversal. So I'm going to change this now to white to let me know a more likelihood we're probably going to move to a reverse. That means a short-term move back to 90,000 possibly, now that we hit our target. Let's put some comments so far on the board. November 19th, 22nd, 2025. Bitcoin. Bitcoin shows small signs of reversal. Now that our two targets have been hit from our previous reports, and they are 90K average, and the other is 80K. And you'll see those in our video, okay? The four I gave you. That's not how you spell average, is it?
Hey, JSong.
Yes, tell me.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Is it really a reversal, or are we just in delay territory until that December 4th, 5th time frame?
You could view it as a delay territory. If you wanted to, you can put the health that's here. You can put it as a yellow border, and that's a good thing. Okay.
Are we still in the vortex area?
We're in an area of weakness. So even if we get a reversal, what the heck are we doing underneath this larger foundational area? We're going to talk about that, okay, in just a moment. So the area of a reversal is small reversal. See the word small reversal. And the reason I have to write some of this is because tomorrow people will be tempted to buy crypto. And tomorrow, I mean like this coming week or whenever. If we go up, there'll be people that chase Bitcoin at 90,000. Oh, it was a dip. And they'll buy even more, not realizing, whoa, the game changed. More weakness came into the market. Whoa, there's a parabolic resistance here. Whoa, there's a spike. In fact, manipulators go as far as, and this is what they do, and again, I'm going to have a conference specifically in the future regarding how to play after wealth transfer. But what they'll do is they'll buy right here. Why would they throw a lot of money? You'll see large $1 million accounts throw millions of dollars right here. And then the moment they do, they cause the frenzy. All they knew is to spend money on the marketing, and then the customers take care of themselves. You'll see people drive up prices to a price like 100,000. Oh my gosh, I better buy it because they feel missing out. I was supposed to buy it at 90, at 80. They end up buying it at 100. The people who threw the money to push it in that short term know what they're going to do. And what they're going to do is they're going to reverse position here. So you spend the money here, then you short immediately your same position back. Okay, now you got price at a high price and you're able to short and make a lot of money profit down rather than just a little bit. This happens all the time in the stock markets and in Forex. They'll try to throw money at it. Well, not so much Forex. There's a different type of manipulation because it's expensive in Forex. But in the stock market, they do things like that. Tom Williams explained they would spend this money to create a buying frenzy even though they knew it was going in the wrong direction because they take stop losses. They'll take all their positions and short it at the best prices. When you short, you want the highest prices, right? When you short. So they'll say, thank you. And they'll do those kinds of things. But anyway, that's a different conversation. So in any sense, we need to understand there's danger here. So there's danger with this buy. Now, if I'm an hourly trader and I'm taking bullish trades, I need to watch this like a hawk and don't sleep. Okay, here's a short-term trade. Now, I like to do this. In a downtrend, I like to hunt the up move. Since I'm coming from this area and I've determined that it's very likely we're going to have a bounce at this target, I got to be careful to stop taking trades once I hit my targets. I can only trade until my targets are hit. After that, I need something big to change. This is how I like to trade. I need something big to change. Something big did not change. We already hit our target. There's no more shorts. I can short every up move until that day. So when from 90,000 on, when we're back at 103, I can short to 90,000 hunt every up move. It would have looked like this. I can take this trade. I can take this trade I can take that trade. I can take that one. I can take that one. And I can even take this one, but the problem is I already hit this, so I can't take that one anymore. I have to be really careful until I'm in a more appropriate spot to start trading again. Okay, I can hold on to some. I don't have to take all my profit right now. I can hold on. Otherwise, I'm just waiting to get to the next territory. So if this territory is a small up territory, small up, I can only take shorts. I'm sorry, I can only take buy positions on a very small. But again, since this is not in alignment with my larger game plan, I'm not taking those hourly trades for the buy. I will tell you this. Watch out for this. Watch, I'm going to draw it. So I already showed you this one, right? Now, going all the way down to a 1 hour chart, that means each candle is just 1 hour. Today, you'll probably see this. If you get above here, watch for us to go up. Right now, we may fail to go down. And you may see price try to give you that. If you do, you're going to be probably hitting that 90K number. Okay, so that's going to be probably the best game plan over the next weekend or this week. Today, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You might see Bitcoin go up Saturday or all today or maybe even before the end of the day or the next week. And then you're going to look if Bitcoin's there and you went up and the volume went down in the volume, that means they weren't interested in this up move. Look for a strong reversal, a really strong reversal. Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding this Bitcoin map? I only got one more to show you for Bitcoin. Bitcoin shows signs of small reversal. And this could be a delay in the larger story. Delay, which means you're still wasting your time for shorting. Now, because of the small health, and price sitting on its target, patience may be needed for the next short. For those of you guys who have been making money on the shorts, praise God, you need to be patient for the next one. I'll show you. There are two areas to pay attention. Set alerts. All of you guys set alerts. Pay attention. Here they are. 90K average. So once 90K happens, you guys can be like, oh, it's time to wake up. I got to short again. I don't mean wake up, but that's where you really need to start paying attention to. It could be on a daily chart, but somewhere when we get back here, it's going to be possibly time to start shorting again. If I see a large up move, I want to hunt it. Which means I want to take the trade about there. I'll show it again. If price keeps going up, I want to hunt that up move and cut it, especially if it's right there. I'm going to be shorting that sucker. You better believe it, especially if it's on low volume. Okay, and then I'm going to trade it down back to here to an 80 and possibly the actual lower number, which was, where's the number? Bottom left. 80 to 75K based on the range. So that becomes very valuable, and we can put a target for us at that time. Right now, we don't have any target, so I'm not going to place any more target. I don't want to make something up out of thin air. If I was short-term only and I had evidence that we really are going to reversal, it would be here. But for me, that evidence would be a smaller parabolic here. And I'll draw that on the 1 hour chart. But when you draw these kind of stuff right here, it's another parabolic. I'll give this a different color. When we draw this, what you want to do is make sure you turn on your intervals, the 3 dots, visibility on interval. I want this current interval and below. So that when I show up my daily chart, I'm not seeing this line. I'm not really seeing that one. I really want this on that interval where I drew it on, which was the 6 hour, right? So they don't mess up my chart, so I don't get too cluttered. Visibility on interval, current interval, and below. So now I go to the daily chart and I won't see those unless I'm intraday trading. All I see is the larger move. But if I go down to the 6 and 1 hour, I can see all of that smaller stuff I started drawing. Here's my 6, so I understand the story. The 1 hour, if I feel like I want something to do and I wanted to trade, that maybe I would take that and say, I'm going to get out. Now, if you're waiting for profit and you didn't take profit and you see that health, then you can get out of your position. So if I see us move into that one, you can say, you know what, I'm going to just cut my profit short. don't be afraid to get out. Don't be afraid to get out of your short, because that's probably not going to happen right now. It'll probably happen at much higher. So if you get there, stop your short, because most likely you're building above this smaller parabolic. Okay? That's how you can save and make sure you keep the money that you made during all those shorts. During all the times when you were hunting those down moves, like here, you made the money when you were supposed to. So if you forgot to set your limit, you can either get out right now, or you can get out a little bit higher. And that's okay. Both of them are perfectly acceptable. Okay? But as far as me goes, I would just be out, because I already hit my target and now I need to wait. The next short that I'm going to give you on this report is here. Underneath this line. We're going to borrow this one. There. The number is 75,000. So if I see price building above 75,000, I'm looking now to come lower somewhere. And we're going to talk about where that is, but that's where the trigger is at. 75. Okay? So around 75, we're going to start acting again. So again, the two areas for Bitcoin, pay attention to 90K and 75K. If price rises to 90,000, now again, I'm not sure we're going to get there. It's likely, or it may be likely based on a map. If price rises to 90K, especially if it's on falling volume, okay, or lower volume as we're rising, falling volume as we rise, this is lack of interest. This means the real move is not this up move. And that's important because of context, where we are. The whole area is bearish, is a bearish territory. So you can't take your eyes off of that. Years ago, I used to explain it like this. If you're a surfer in the ocean, and you are wanting to surf the small waves, fine, surf the small waves, but don't take your eyes off the horizon. Because if you see humunga dunga wave coming in, you know that's the tsunami, and it eats all other waves. The reason I say that is because there is a larger wave coming in. The larger wave is this one. Two structures I'm paying attention to in white right now. They're active. After that, it'll be this orange one and the yellow one. But right now, these waves are based on the moves since December of 2022 and the other December of 2023. They are small round structures that are in play. Let me draw it. I'm going to hide my lines so you guys can see it. Okay, we're going to do this together. These are important lines that you should draw. You don't have to draw every line I draw, but I'm telling you, there's some stuff that you need to be paying attention to so you know what's happening. Don't believe me about all the USDT.D stuff. Fine. Believe me about the Bitcoin stuff. What the heck are we doing here? Especially if it was on high volume. It might be a push into this negative territory. That means we can experience possibly even a move all the way back up to there and still be right. The move can rise us up to right now 94K. I'm not saying we're going to go there, but that's possible. So if I see price rise tomorrow and people are saying, yeah, look, we moved all the way from 84,000 to 94,000 in a single day, it's time to buy, baby. No, it's not. Be careful. Use discipline. Use wisdom. The down move is still in play. If you see that happen, it's going to look like a juicy green candle on many of your charts. Be careful. That will look like a white candle on our charts. Be careful. Everybody understand that? Okay? Remember, we possibly have a statistical likelihood there will be a small reversal. That could be like what people think is delay. You can be in for a world of hurt. Now, if we go down here, the easiest way, and what I'm about to say right next, please pay attention to this. So critical. All right. When you enter into weakness, the next areas you need to pay attention to are event lines. We have lots of lessons like this on our website. in the lessons page. Type in lessons in the little search bar on our website. It's going to pull you to our lessons page. Otherwise, in our last recent post, you can see that I've been including a link to the lessons page themselves. Event lines are super, super critical. And I tell you this all the time. If you're not using event lines, you're missing out. Event lines are one of the premium principles that are taught in sword method. When I first got his key angles are event lines, but event line is just a specific way to remember to draw an important type of key angle. Event lines are the last thing that happens before weakness onsets. It lets us know how far we're going and when something changed. To calculate for the event line, I first need to remind you of the two important things. Number one, this is round structure. Number two, this is round structure, in a way. Not as round as this one, but still round. So those are important, right? All right, now, this is round structure. And this is round structure. Now, I'm not saying we're going down to the moon or to the depths, but we need to pay attention to this. And the round structure is the last, this type of trend line is the last event that happened before the weakness. So we got weakness. What was the last event that happened before? What we're going to do is we're going to calculate for that angle and plot it on the map. This is what we know as event line. I'm going to get a big crayon. You guys can all do this. If you don't know, copy my map and I'll do it for you. What you do with an event line is super critical. You find the energy center, the center of all this energy, and it's right here. The center of all this energy, it's right there. And what you're going to do is duplicate it to the bottom, to the lowest energy center, primarily in the foundational area, and which means from when it started, somewhere here. We used to do the egg technique quite a bit. So somewhere on that side, it generally should be there somewhere. In this case, the lowest one is going to be here, right there. And what you're going to do with that is you're going to click it, you're going to duplicate your event line, and you're going to put it in place, and it's going to create a ghost line. This is the phantom. What you're going to do next is you're going to click it in place. Now, when weakness comes in, we can, by the way, you can add this to the core, and if you got a wick match, use it to the wick match. In this case, we're going to add it to the core, and we got one verification, okay? Now, this is why it's super critical. If I add it here, I hit here. So that's already verifying the angle is correct, or starting to get me. What's supposed to happen after the weakness is we're supposed to get to that line. It's a really easy way to trade targets. Usually price will hit the line. However, in lesson number 1, we teach you what happens at trend lines is just as important as what doesn't happen at trend lines. Here's what happens. Last week, we got a close. Wait, is this week closed yet? No. We got 1 day and 8 hours left. If I close just like this tomorrow and not at this number, wherever that number is at, it's going to be closer to a little bit, maybe about 80. Here's 84, 94. It's about a little less than halfway. We're going to say 45, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90. Somewhere about 90,000. If price goes up to 90,000 tomorrow, maybe 87,000, then that means that this line is holding. But if it closes like this tomorrow in 1 hour, 1 day, in 8 hours, then that means that this support did not hold, and it tells you everything you need to know. You're going down. You're going down with the ship, because you should not be cracking below your event lines, especially if you have round structure. I'm going to say that again. This event line isn't just any other event line. I always tell you, add round structure with 1 peak, but if you have 2 round structures, you better pay attention. The fact that these are 2 round structures are important, but the fact that this is 2 round structures and we're trading now below that is important. Now again, this candle in red has not closed, but if it does, then I'm going to be looking, instead of a move all the way up there, I'm going to be looking for a move to exactly that price. And I'm going to get you these exact prices in just a moment. And it's not going to be 94. It's going to be closer to 90,000. Let's draw that. I'll get you the exact number. If so, the candle will look like that. I've seen this hundreds of times. Event lines, calculate them. They let you know what's happening in slow motion. Pay attention. This is very likely scenario. Already weakness. If I see I get this close, you know everything you need to know. It's going down like a rock. If we don't, and we close right at that 90,000 approximately, then we have a chance for the reversal. And I could be wrong. We'll look for the next health, and then we can take trades. Either way, I can't take any bullish trades until I break that foundational area in the longer sense, okay, in the more medium sense. Does I have any other questions before I plot this on the map? Okay, take a screenshot. I'm giving you the story. I know I'm long-winded, but I'm trying to teach you. I won't always be here in this capacity, so I need to make sure you guys are left with this type of material. Okay. Take your screenshot now. Going once. Going twice. So you all know what's happening in the market. All right. Now let's plot these on. Turn back on my lines. Let's calculate for event line on this chart. I'm going to clean up some of these we don't need at the moment. Just use this. Anything that's really not necessary, fade that away. Come. Larger event line. I'll make it in white. EV. Duplicate. I'm going to call this EVP. EV Phantom, Event Line Phantom. We're going to click it in place at that wick match, and there it is. So now I'm going to plot these numbers. I'm going to move this number exactly to where I suspect. So the exact number for the close tomorrow, if it's below 89,000, okay, that's the number for the week. Okay, then I'm going to be looking for this to rise up to that same number, and we're going to zoom in. It'll be exactly a core movement of 89,674, but the weakness confirms after 89. All right, weakness confirms, and then we're going to be looking at these two areas again, 89 and 90 something. The vortex, it could play all the way up until December 8th, 2025. I'll turn on a 3-day chart to simplify this. The vortex is December 6th. So all of this can take place up until December 6th, and then we start losing that momentum. So I'm going to put all of this on your map. Vortex, November 6th, 2025. No, December 6th, sorry. December 6th. All right, let's put those comments on so you can see. Next, important. If price closes below 89,035 with a significant, I don't want to just close on that line area. Tomorrow, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST. This means that weakness has, more weakness has come into the market. 89K was the event line, was and is, or I should say is the event line, Phantom. This is supposed to be the support. But if price closes below it, it tells us most everything we need to know. That there was no bounce or reversal. This would mean on Monday, November 22nd, you guys can be here. We'll be here together Monday. Okay, November 22nd, 23rd, 24th. We can confirm where Bitcoin is going to next. Is likely going next. Wouldn't you be like to know that? Show up on Monday. Going next. Okay. So we get that close. Bitcoin's bearish. We're going to look for a reversal up to this area. possibly a reversal either way to this area, and then we can possibly looking to start short again. If the up move is on falling volume, like I said earlier, then we're going to be very much looking to short Bitcoin again. All right, likelihood. Otherwise, we can wait till we get closer to the number of 96,000. Those are going to be some important areas. Okay, so all of this telling us, so let's put it in summary. I'm looking forward, in short, or in conclusion, price may make a small reversal, 89K, but the close Sunday will tell us when to start shorting again, or if more health is short term. This is a powerful, important vortex. December 6th. Okay, so that's anytime between now and then. Okay, very strong, important vortex right now. Okay, we're either going to break above into health, which I don't think that's going to be the case right now, or we're going to be coming and reversing down. Okay, I don't want to take the short all the way up to there. I only want to take I don't want to take any buys all the way up to there, to 96. I only want to take a buy up to 89 for just 1 hour charts, minute chart type of things. Okay, yeah. Does anybody have any other questions? My final thoughts regarding this chart. Okay, final thoughts regarding this chart. All right, going once. Going twice. I think this is going to have most of what you need to know for this chart. Yeah, I don't need to go over anymore. Okay, we'll talk about targets on Monday. We'll go over it, and then we'll calculate how far we're going to go down on Monday. Yeah, right now all of our targets are hit. So we'll do another target on Monday and see where we can do the short. But I can't do any shorts yet. Not until I get some time. All right, going once, questions. Going twice. Small reversal. Important close tomorrow. Possible new shorting opportunities this coming week. Not yet. Okay. All right, with that being said, and if you're watching this video or any parts of the free content online for Bitcoin or XRP or USDT.D on our website, you can join us. Sign up for our dive tier membership, and you're going to get invited to all of our live links. And those of all of you guys who are in the chat today, welcome. Those who are joining us in our live session.